Hello from London, this is Rebeca Omordia, and it is a great pleasure to be part of the Q&A session for the ARCO project. First questions are from Tlombo. He wants to know, at what age did you start playing the piano and who inspired you to play the piano? Which music school did you first attend? Do you play any other instruments excluding the piano? What made you want to record African classical music, and what are you trying to achieve with your series? I started playing the piano at the age of 7. My parents had already bought a piano in my house when I was younger, as they wanted my older sister to learn to play the piano in order to play it in church. But she never liked to practice, and so I started playing on my own. And when time came for me to go to be enrolled in school, I went to my parents and I told them that I didn't want to go to the local school anymore, and I wanted to go to the specialist music school in our town, as I wanted to become a pianist. I grew up in Romania, and Romania has a very old tradition in classical music, and so we had in each town, each major city in Romania has a specialist music school where children are trained from a young age to become professional musicians. And so I started having lessons at the age of 7. And my piano teacher was very good, especially with young children, and I learned very fast. And she sent me to national competitions, which I won from the very first year, when I also appeared on the national television. And of course, my father, who is Nigerian, never believed becoming a musician was an actual profession. But when they saw I was very successful, winning competitions and playing concerts and appearing on the national television and on radio, he supported what became later my passion and my full-time profession. I don't play any other instruments, and piano was the only instrument, as it was very demanding, as I used to spend my summers practicing piano the whole day. I discovered African classical music about a decade ago, in 2010, 2012. African classical music is not widespread, and especially it's not known even in Africa. And so it took it was a long process, and it took a long time for me to discover the music and discover the scores, as most of the scores had never been published. And it started as a research mission, and the more I discovered, the more I became aware that this music that needs to be made known to the Western world. In 2018, I released my CD Ekele, Piano Music by African Composers, which was received with great enthusiasm, and it was featured by all the media, classical media platforms in the UK, including by the BBC, BBC Radio 3, BBC Music Magazine, Gramophone Magazine, Classic FM. And so this gave me the idea of starting the African Concert Series. While investigating the African classical music, I discovered not only music for piano, I discovered chamber music, songs for voice and piano. And so the African Concert Series was an opportunity, or created an opportunity, for all this music to be performed. The following questions are from Adiswa. I think your project is truly fulfilling and phenomenally inspirational. I so love your work. Well, thank you very much. What is unique about African classical music, and how do you choose composers, and do you have any listening recommendations? The most unique thing about African classical music is the blend of the African traditional rhythms and tunes with the Western harmonies, and the way the composers manage to bring the flavor of the music from the African countries they come from. When I started this project, when I first started researching Nigerian classical music, as African art music emerged in the 20th century in West Africa, Nigeria and Ghana. And so most of the composers I discovered were from Nigeria and some from Ghana. But I'm very fond of Alban Cole's piano music, as most of his songs are based on Yoruba traditional music. But with time, of course, I discovered composers from South Africa. Most recently, I recorded with my duo partner, the double bass player Leon Bosch, a CD titled The South Africa Double Bass, music for double bass and piano by South African composers. While bringing the African composers to the Western audience has already had a huge impact. In the Western world, I came to know music that they had never heard of before. At the same time, this also made African musicians to return to their roots and to become ambassadors of the countries they come from. The next questions are from Mbali. Mbali wants to know, when feeling down and uninspired, what do you do to get yourself back up again? Usually Netflix movies binge watching works perfectly for me. Of course, if the weather is nice, walk in the park works really well. Or some other time it's just still sitting at the piano and trying on new repertoire or revisiting music that I haven't played for a long time. Next question. What role does your family play in your career? Well, my family are my number one fans. They come to all my concerts, all my recordings, and they also share all my social media posts. So I'm very fortunate to have a very supportive family. Did being a woman have any effect in your career? Well, we do live in a male-dominated world, and most of the world leaders are men. Most of the concert pianists are men. Most of the universities' principals are men. And so it is a male-dominated world. But I was very fortunate, as my father really laid down a very strong foundation for me and for my sister. And he always used to tell us that as long as you are educated and you are very hardworking, there will be no difference made between you and your male competitor. And so I believe this is the main thing every woman in our generation and in the world we live in needs to have in mind. And it's always helped. What piece have you enjoyed performing the most? Well, there are many pieces I love, and I would say one of my most favorite pieces is Scarborough by Maurice Ravel. This is considered to be one of the most difficult pieces in the piano repertoire, and why I like it is because it exploits all the registers of the piano, and it's very virtuosic, and it has darkness, but light, expression, as well as it's full of passion, and so it brings together thing that I think suits my own temperament. At the same time, as you all know, I'm very fond of African music. If you weren't a pianist, what would you be? Well, my parents always said that I would have been a good lawyer, as I always used to fight for a cause, and I was always believed in justice and in freedom fighting, and so maybe if I didn't become a pianist, that would have been something else. But all my life I've only known about playing the piano, and so I can't imagine my life any other way. After performing at so many places and traveling around the world, have you reached your goal, or are you still aiming for more? Well, our whole life is a search. All I always wanted to do is to play the piano, and as long as I am still able to do so, I think I've achieved everything I dreamed of. And the last questions are from Kani. Did you ever think when you were younger that you never get to where you are now? When I was younger, I always dreamed to be a concert pianist, and I think that dream has come true. How does the piano speak to you, and what would you have chosen to become if you weren't a successful musician? Have you considered learning other instruments? I liked violin very much, and I believed I always thought I would have been, even though piano was the first instrument I chose, I later discovered violin, and I believe I would have been a great violinist. But my mother never agreed to me taking violin lessons. As when I was growing up, we used to have neighbors that were not very keen with my piano practicing, and bringing up and starting playing a violin would have probably got us kicked out from the neighborhood. Do you play any indigenous instrument? No, I've not had a chance to do so. Composer Fred Onolowosoke has in one of his studies the instrument needs to be played, and I did that, and it's great fun. Do you think that African music is just as well received in Europe? Is it more fun to play African music? African music is now gradually starting to be very well received in Europe. People from all over Europe, they have been tuning to the African concert series online concerts, and they are discovering the music as it has, according to some people from our audience, it has some exotic flavor given by the melodies and the rhythms, and I think this is also what makes the African classical music much more fun to play. The rhythms that are so full of life, and it's impossible for them not to relate to those rhythms. Well, thank you very much for all your questions, and I hope one day I will get to meet all of you.